I think I'm gonna talk like this though.
Welcome to Divine Honey Podcast. I'm your host, your friend, Tamika Johnson.
And I'm your co-host, your other friend, Tim Johnson.
If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This show is about human experiences. This includes thought-provoking conversations, and most importantly, our Divine Honey guests sharing stories about love, life, journey, and purpose. If you're watching live or on the replay and you feel inspired, show some love in the chat. Questions, engagement are welcomed. Hey, welcome everyone.
What's good? What's good?
And we have a guest.
Who that is?
Who that is? Brianne Johnson, aka Justakeyatheart, aka Tim's wife, aka my sister-in-law.
Hey, the whole fam right here.
AKA baby mama. AKA Kingston Atlanta's mama.
Right.
All the things. Tim's boss.
AKA.
Oh, how are you guys doing?
Good. We've actually kind of gotten a lot accomplished this weekend, I feel like.
Yeah, I took a quick little 20-minute nap before we got in tune, just to make sure my brain was ready.
Yeah.
Okay. I took me a little morning nap, because I got a 3-day weekend. So
y'all stay napping. I wish I could.
I need it. I'd be taking 30-minute naps. I'd be taking morning naps, lunch naps, all the above. Oh, okay. Last time we talked a little about the Super Bowl. What did you think about the Super Bowl? Because we had our show before it, didn't we?
We talked last week,
fam. Saturday. You had it on Saturday.
Right.
Oh, I was sick. See, I wasn't even in the right state of mind. Yeah, the Super Bowl was just last week, huh?
Yeah, we were sick. We did it the day before.
Yeah, I thought it was a great game. Shout out to Pat Mahomes doing his stuff thizzle. The Chiefs played well. I was a little worried that they was going to play this one cat on there, Kadarius Toney, but it said he wasn't even going to step on the field, so he's just trash. I mean, he made it to the NFL, so I shouldn't say he's trash. He's a mediocre receiver in regards to NFL wide receivers in the NFL. So that's my take on him. But I thought it was good. Halftime show was solid. Probably the best halftime show I've ever seen. I know there was like some debates about who had the best one because of Prince's it was raining when Prince did it. And then Michael Jackson came out and everybody was cheering for him for 2 minutes straight and he hadn't even said nothing yet. But I thought Usher's was the best.
Did you know that Michael Jackson was the first halftime, how we know the halftime show to be now? He was the first one. Before, I guess, him, they had like stupid stuff like that people weren't interested in, like
sure,
floats and all that stuff. So Michael Jackson was the first. But I thought Usher, I did not watch the game. I ordered what is it called? Paramount Plus, just so I could see the halftime. That's all I watched. And I thought it was great. And then guess what? Beyonce. She looked great. Her commercial. She had a commercial. And then at the end of the commercial, she says, I'm dropping you music. And she did. She's going to go country. Now, I actually like the country songs, but I'm not going to any more concerts. I'm done.
Yeah, she's just trying to expand her fan base. Babe, what'd you think? How'd it go, Brianne?
Yeah, what'd you think?
I thought it was cool. We were over at a bunch of friends, so we had all the kids. I enjoyed watching my husband perform to the halftime show. So I thought it was good. I love Usher. I love when they're entertaining, dancing. I love that he brought in all the people too. I think that was cool. Yeah. It doesn't take much to entertain me though.
Oh, yeah, it was a good game. And it wasn't a good game. It was a good halftime show and I enjoyed it. Who do we have? Hold on. We have Bridget. Bridget said, wait, who are we talking about? Girl, we're talking about the Super Bowl. And who is mediocre? No one's mediocre.
I thought when y'all said something was mediocre, or maybe
Yeah,
was.
it
Yeah,
said
that was
Kadarius
great.
Toney. Kadarius Toney, the wide receiver. Well, one of the wide
Oh,
receivers on the Chiefs. I doubt he'll have a. I'll put this out there to right now with a bet with anybody. If anybody's out there listening and it streams and goes viral or something, I got $300 says that Kadarius Toney is not on an NFL roster next football season because
why
he
you gotta do
is
300?
not a good wide receiver. He can't catch, and that's your job to catch the football, and he can't
Was he
do
the
it.
one that was he the one that dropped 2?
He didn't play.
Oh,
Yeah, he didn't
yeah.
play at all in the Super Bowl. Like he hasn't played like the last four games of the season, 5 games of the season.
And he's just making money?
Yeah, I mean he still gets his bread, but it's not guaranteed. It's not football money's not guaranteed. So he probably gets whatever his initial signing was. So I mean the league minimum is like 800,000. So he's probably getting whatever. If that's what I don't even know what he signed. I have no idea what he signed for, but he'll get whatever that was. But he won't get like no incentive money, no bonus money, or anything like that because he hasn't played and he dropped so many balls. So I doubt he will be on an NFL roster next year.
She said,
Baby daddy.
Bridget said,
You got a
but my
lot.
baby daddy was on there, and now they are coming from him. Who? Oh, I liked him when he was still into black women. You're silly. Well, there's a Super Bowl. So we're still in Black History Month, and today the discussion, just to start off the discussion, is going to be finding love within. So there's some Maya Angelou quotes because I think they're fitting. Bree, you sent them to me. Thank you.
Mhm.
They're fitting for this discussion, and I'm gonna put them in the chat as well. So, Maya Angelou, make every effort to change things you do not like. If you cannot make a change, change the way you've been thinking. You might find a solution. I like that one. And then the second quote we have is nothing can dim light which shines within. And then the third one is success is liking yourself, liking what you do and how you do it. And do the best you can until you do better. Then you will know better. I might have wrote that wrong, but I'm about to put it in the chat, y'all. Which quote do you guys like best out of those quotes? Which ones resonates with you?
I'm a rock with success is liking yourself, liking what you do, and liking how you do it. I think a lot of times, I know we've touched on like your thoughts change all the time about different things. I think social media influences a lot of our thoughts, and our friend groups influence a lot of our thoughts, and the world influences a lot of our thoughts. So just in liking yourself and liking what you do, that would be success, because I think we measure success by what other people have, but what we have inside is what we got to have, and that should be enough. It should be enough, but for some folks, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Bree, what about you?
I've always loved the when you know better, do better. But I actually think what resonates with me most right now, like thinking of our topic too, is make every effort to change the things you do not like. And so I think that I love evolving, changing. And so if there's ever been a part of me that I might not like or I might not understand, I make every effort that I can to either understand why it is, and then do my best at finding a solution. So I really like that one. Like, especially the part, going back to kind of what you said, Tim, if you cannot make a change the way you have been thinking, and your thoughts are just like crazy powerful. So I like that one.
Yeah, Brie, I would have to go. The one that's resonating with me is make every effort to change things you do not like. And if you cannot make a change, change the way you've been thinking. Yes, you might find a solution. Thoughts are so powerful and they're so hard, like your negative self-talk or the things that um, you interpreted or that has been said to you or you just made up about yourself. It's hard to undo those things, but you can. It starts here, and with every negative, adding a positive. Easier said than done, I know, but that one resonated with me as well. I'll drop the other two. The other one. There's one more. Give me 1 second. And I'll read Bridget's comment. She left us a little comment. She said, I think we need to define the word love. What is love? World love versus the love of God. And she put the scripture in there for you guys to check out for sure. So let's get it started. So Tim, hit us off. Start us off.
So Bree, since you're the guest, you're on a journey right now. Can you tell us a little bit about how it started, why it started, and kind of like, for the mothers out there, I would imagine, obviously I'm not a woman, but I would imagine that there's a period of time in having birth, your identities around that, then raising children, your identities around that. So how do you get back to finding the love within?
So I was kind of thinking about this. And actually, I feel like the majority of the change in my life happened in 2017. With
What happened in that year?
It was my actual work when we started on the culture proficiency journey. And that was when I first recognized, like, I was not the person who I thought I was. And I also was like, I had this point where I'm like, who am I? And so I started trying to figure out my culture, trying to figure out who I was, why I did the things I did, why I don't identify with certain things. And then in 2018 is when I started therapy. I was like, whatever energy I'm giving out into the world, I do not like. I was really, I was a single mom at the time. And I was just really tired of what was happening in my life. And I knew, going back to Maya's quote, the only thing that I could change was me, right? So like, obviously what I was, the energy that I was giving out was not quality. And ironically, I thought I was going to be on this healing journey for a year and then maybe a man might come into my life. And actually I met Tim like barely a month into therapy. It was kind of crazy. And I just remember a lot of things came up when I was dating Tim. In our beginning, like just like a lot of my programming thoughts that I had. I did a lot of horrible self-talk to myself over the years, to a point where it starts to become your narrative, like when you say bad things like about yourself, you get bad things in return. When you say, why would anybody love me? Why do I deserve love? What makes me, and so I just really, thankfully, Tim's very patient, understanding, and has a social work background. So he was patient as I was like figuring out all the ways to heal. I was doing tapping. Even when you said like talking about wanting to have a kid, like that was a thing that I had to. I had spent so many years not wanting another child because of the fear of having to be a single mom again. And so then that was a fear I had to release out of me, that it was okay to be a mom again and knowing that I would have his support. And so fast forward, I was doing in therapy. I had culture proficiency coaching. I had a lot of people on my team supporting me heal, release, and just figure out what was going on with me. But I would say it wasn't really until, and then, I had Kingston. My body changed. That was a really, really, really hard thing for me. um, that was really hard to love myself during that time because I gained so much weight and it was so hard to lose the weight. And as much as you try to tell yourself, like, you're taking care of your baby, I'm nourishing him, like it was really hard. And so, like I said, last year I found out that I had adrenal fatigue and my thyroid was off. And so one of the things they kept telling me was, you need to rest. You need to get stress out of your life. And so actually, ironically, during that time is when I really realized who I was and that I was okay with who I was. I started like telling Tim, like, I don't actually like to do these things, or I don't feel good in this type of situation. Because I was a people pleaser. And so I just always put myself last, and I would always go and do all the things, but I needed to be okay with being me. And so that was one of the things that in the beginning I struggled with. Like with Tim, I would just be like, I actually don't want to do that. And he was like, that's fine. And I'm like, do you think it's a bad thing? Or and so I think this past year, what I did was like, I started being okay with who I was. Like, I'm an introvert. And even though society says like being alone is bad, like it wasn't bad for me, and I think that was just like one of the things that I really started to love myself for me. I stopped caring what people might think of me, because of this or that. I also noticed that when I started loving myself, I also stopped judging others less, right? Like I just was like, whatever makes them happy, because I'm doing whatever makes me happy. And Tim's been telling me for years to mind my business. And that was also an amazing thing.
I like that. As soon as you start loving and accepting yourself, there was less judgment on other people. You start minding your business.
Yeah.
Key to success, baby.
Yeah.
Stay out the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are some ways like that people can start exploring the concept of even self-love, to even just start?
I think for me is like you gotta sit down and like get to know yourself. And when I say that, it's kind of hard to like quickly say what to do. That's taken me 7+ years, right? Like this is 7 years, and I never view it as stopping. So, I've done journaling. I think that was one of the most powerful things I did, was sat down and was like, who am I? Why am I this way? Why do I not feel comfortable in this setting? And why do I feel good in this setting? And I just took so much time. I think, in the culture proficiency world, I took time to figure out my culture, right? Like a lot of times we think however we were raised, that's what our culture is. Or if we identify as a certain race culture, then we also have to act like them. And that was the thing. Like, I just was like, who am I? What do I like? What do I enjoy? And so, and then I would also write down, like, why do you think this way? Why do you, one of the things that was really hard, and the things that I judge the most, is like the way I dress. And I that was there's lots of layers under there, but I kind of had to figure out why body image and dressing is such a deeply rooted thing. And so I think I say that because like there's certain things in your life that are deeply rooted in your belief system, and sometimes you don't know why that is. And so I think spending a lot of time getting to know yourself, and I think also recognizing that there's more than one way to heal. as I went through this, I started recognizing that talk therapy that I was doing actually was helping me be a better communicator.
Mhm.
I was able to better communicate, but what it wasn't doing for me is it wasn't helping me release like pain or programming or negative thoughts that I had. That's where like tapping and emotion code and journaling and all these other things that I did is what really helped me release and start becoming the person that I wanted to be.
Yes, and
I'm hearing a lot of like self-reflection. I think a lot of times when you really want to find that love within yourself, it's taking a deeper look into who you are. And I think, I believe that it's a scary place to explore yourself. And when you're on that exploration or you're on that journey, you can get lost in it because there's no like perfect roadmap to follow to figure out what you want. So I appreciate you saying like all of the different things that you tried, because it's not one shoe fits all. We're all unique beings in the world that we live in, and there's no talk therapy, tapping, exercise, diet. You know what I'm saying? There's no right way to fix who you are. You just got to go on that journey to figure out what it is, which ultimately is that self-reflection piece.
yeah.
And I don't really ever view it as arriving. I think that was one of the things that I really enjoyed about my cultural proficiency journey is we always would tell people it's a continuum. And so I think about that as myself. Like I don't ever think all of a sudden I'm going to arrive as my best self. I just keep knowing that I just want to keep working at it. I just want to, because one of the things that I've always appreciated about my mom is she's been the type that if like you're not at your absolute happiness, like if you're just not absolutely happy, then do something about it. You know, she's always been like, do something about it. And that honestly is something that I'm thankful for. That is a part of my culture and a part of my programming is to always find happiness. And so that's always in the back of my head running.
I like that you brought up that it is a journey and everyone is going to have different ways. Again, like Tim said, I appreciate you listing off the things that work for you. And that there's no arrival and it's a continuum. Because I think sometimes we think we do all these things and we, are in a good place, and then life kicks you on your ass and
Adversity.
Yep. And then you're like, oh, I'm not healed. No, it's just adversity, or it might be something you might not have healed from that wasn't recognized in the first round. You might just be going deeper, and that's actually a great thing.
Right.
Which kind of also makes me think about I don't know when it was, I don't know if it was last year or something. I heard something about how like laughter is so good for you. And so your body actually doesn't know if you're like fake laughing or real laughing. And I thought, what if I didn't quite believe in myself quite yet, but I just like said, like, if I can fake out my body and laughing, I can also like fake out my mind until I become that person. And so like, and so I used to get on YouTube, and there's like all these affirmations and manifestations right on there. And so I would just pour that into my mind. Like, I am beautiful. I am abundant. Or, one of the things I was trying to get back into was working out. And so I didn't quite view myself as an athlete, but I would tell myself I'm an athlete. I put my health first. And so, it was interesting by doing that. Recently, just a couple days ago, I took a before picture because I'm doing this hormone reset to really help heal my thyroid and adrenals. And I looked at the picture and I was just like, oh man, like I feel like I've been trying. And so like I had a hot second where I was just like, ugh, but then I like whispered to myself, but you're doing your best. And in that moment, I realized like that is programming that I have purposely done to myself, because prior to that moment, I had told myself for weeks on end, I am so proud of you. You're doing your best. You're killing it. You are amazing, right? Like I was telling myself that all the time. When I would like lift weights in my break, I would walk and I would just be like, I'm so proud of you, Brianne. You're doing so good. And so in that moment, I had done that to myself, right? Like my mind wanted to go negative, but I'm like, that's not who you are anymore. You are not a negative. You don't talk to yourself badly anymore. And so it was just like a feel good moment that like, even if you might not yet like something, you're still doing your best.
You know, those words you're saying to yourself that you heard whispered to you, it just made me think of this. It made me think God is talking to you. That's the world's love versus God's love. It made me think back to what Bridget was saying. He's saying to my child, you're doing great. You're doing it because he offers grace. The world does not offer you grace. Yeah. We have to be taught that.
Right.
So that just made me think of Bridget's comment as you're like saying that. I just hear the little voice in here.
Facts.
Yes. So my next question. So that's just exploring the concept of self-love. So the importance of self-love and cultivating healthy relationships. So I know that you had, you know, getting into your romantic relationship, you had to work on some self-love concepts so you could recognize and cultivate that relationship with Tim. How did that come about? And also, well, I guess just answer that part first. Let's get us a little insight on that.
So I think prior to Tim, I had purposely put myself in situations that I knew wouldn't last because that was the way kind of like that I protected myself. And then when Tim and I got together, it was scary because I was like, oh, this is someone I actually don't want to lose. And that was the first time that I would get like severely anxious about losing him. You know, that was during the time when I was like, why would he choose me? You know, I'm 6 years older than him. I'm also like, why does he want this old lady?
Definitely could have been my teacher and shit.
Yeah, exactly. And so, you know, he never like gave me any reason, but I also knew it was like a me thing. And so that is when I started realizing like I have to release this because I'm going to ruin this relationship if I stay this insecure. Like I wouldn't want to be around somebody that constantly was like being like this. And so like I said, I was doing tapping and therapy at the same time. So I was doing tapping to release this severe anxiety that was deeply rooted in me for multiple reasons from my upbringing and programmings that I've told myself. But then therapy like helped me. She really helped me be like, it's okay. Like she would like I could practice conversations with her to then go talk to Tim. You know, she would be like, it's okay that you think this way, you know, or it's okay that you like, sometimes I would get super anxious about going downtown, you know? And so she would be like, it's okay if you want to say to him, can we leave by 11:30 tonight? You know, that was really hard for me to put myself first, kind of going back to what Tim said about, you know, being a mom, like, how do I be okay with having my needs being there and having my needs, somebody actually caring about them. So I think one of the best things that Tim and I always talk about with marriage is just communication. You know, like we both want to see each other at our best. I talk to him about, you know, my goals or things I'm working on. And so we just built a strong foundation of just saying everything, good, bad, beautiful, ugly. You know, I just think that's so important to help that is to communicate it. I don't necessarily know that I shared with everybody that I was growing or that I was working on this, but I definitely have always shared every parts of it with Tim. And I've just been thankful that no matter how crazy the idea sounds, he'll go with it. You know, I think probably because he's seen what it's done for me in my growth.
I have a kind of a question for both of you on both perspectives. So you're doing your journey, you meet him, but now you're communicating because you're getting to know each other. You're being honest, like, oh, I'm doing therapy, I'm doing these things. Was it hard to be vulnerable, not knowing if he would be accepting of that? Or you were just putting yourself out there and with no fear?
No,
I
I
think it took
think,
a little bit to get there.
yeah.
There would be like silly fights over just. I guess I shouldn't say it's silly. Like it would be fights over things that most definitely could have just been resolved over a 10-minute conversation.
And I do think some of it did help because Tim's background is in social work. So he knew there would be times when he'd be like, I know that he would be like, this isn't about this. Like, I know that we're having a discussion about maybe going out downtown, but it actually isn't about downtown. Like I think he at times knew it was deeply rooted in something else. And sometimes I didn't know what it was rooted in, right? Like I think that was why it's powerful to keep having the conversations. Not the way where you try to keep bringing the same thing up to sabotage something. You know what I'm saying? But like I talked about it so I could heal through it. I don't know if I'm explaining that right, but I did it. I was talking to him in a way though, too, that I was like, I want to fix this because it's not your fault, you know? And he was also willing to be like, well, how can I help? And so I think that was different is we were coming together. It wasn't just about me healing and him sitting back and like chilling. We were truly like coming together to form something new. We became new people together because of our love for each other, I think.
I like what Bridget said. She said things we do that we think we are protecting ourselves are the very thing that keeps us from receiving God's best for us. So I kind of think about that with you. If you weren't able to, have those conversations and open up and come with the idea of, instead of, having a guard up maybe because of past relationships, instead you were able to say, hey, I want to fix this. So you let a guard down instead of protecting yourself, or you could have missed out. And you could have, but you were already on the journey and doing the work. So
Here we are.
Here you are. And you're still together. Remember that from In Living Color? It's old. So Tim, what's your on a male's point of view of, coming into a relationship and someone who you see is on a growth healing journey and knowing you need to be in it together, not just sitting back passively? Like, how was that for you? What was your thought process?
Well, I always think of what Will Smith says, and we were just talking about this the other day. It's like, as the partner, you can only do so much to make your partner happy. They have to find happiness within themselves in order for happiness to really come to fruition. I could give all the gifts, I could shower all the love, I can do all the love language things, but if she's not happy with herself, none of that is going to help anything. It might be like it's like putting a Band-Aid over like a big cut that probably needs stitches. That's all it's doing because she's not happy. So how do we get her happy? I think with that self-love and finding your identity in yourself, it makes everything around the situation happy. We benefit from her being happy. She's a better mom. She's a better partner. She's a better coworker. She's a better friend. She's a better daughter when the happiness is there. And that's the same for me too. Like if I'm happy within myself, I'm a better everything also. So like why would you want your partner to be down and feel down without supporting them in their journey to get better?
I like that. Tim, what are some ways you felt like, first, did you already feel like when you met where you already had the self-love, or were there some things you still needed to work on to be in partnership?
I think my only thing was, how do I truly like commit? That was the only thing. And I felt that if I'm wanting to have a family, because I always wanted to have a family, I always wanted to have a wife. So if I'm able to do that, and personally, just like for real, like I had never really seen Brianne. I seen Brianne occasionally. So it's like, okay, this is a woman that I actually could trust and have this with. So it was actually a lot easier because there was no like pressure. Like I didn't feel that all the walls were caving on me and I was getting claustrophobic because of all the amount of pressure of being in a relationship. It was very easy. Sure, we had our, couple of speed bumps and hurdles along the way, but it was easy to find love and be in love with someone because there wasn't like the forced pressure. She wasn't calling my phone every 5 minutes if I didn't answer a text message. She wasn't texting me 100 times if I didn't answer a call. You know what I'm saying? There's like, there wasn't any of that toxicity ever. We never had any toxic parts in our relationship ever. So I think that made it, easy for us to find this and cultivate this relationship.
Did you guys, and you both can answer this, did you know? So I'm going back to therapy and we're going deep now about relationships. And I remember last week or the week before, 5 things that you need in a relationship. I said some like level surface-ish. But as we got talking, it just went deep. It was like, you want acceptance, you need understanding, you need safety, security. And then as we name those things, as we're going deep, it all starts with me. I just felt it was like, it starts with me. So were there some things what are the things you both, give me like 3 things each that you both needed from a partnership, but how did you find it in yourself first?
I needed trust. I needed maturity for sure. I needed maturity for sure. Trust, maturity, and communication. I think past relationships, I wasn't mature enough to understand what to do in a relationship or how to be in a relationship. So from all of the past relationships, I was able to learn and grow in those. Trust was, I need to trust myself that I can trust somebody else, from past situations. And then communication, you just got to say it, and it's not about what you say, but it's how you say it. So I had to learn how to speak so that it's not offensive to the other person. I think I have a quick processing power. So when people speak to me, I can understand it pretty fast. And then I have a tendency, and I still do it, to like overtake the conversation because I want the conversation to be over because we're not really talking about nothing. So I had to like learn those things about myself so that I could find that somewhere else. Maturity, but I think maturity was the number one thing. I knew that, sure, there's probably women my age that are mature, but I had to have someone that had experience and that was mature in the fact of, this is what life should be. You don't always have to go out and party. You can go out and have a good time, but you don't always need to do that to find happiness. And because, our upbringing, we really, like the family unit was untraditional in the sense of, we really didn't have parents. So I had to understand how to be at home, how to sit down and be at home. I had to learn that, you know what I'm saying? So, and that was all in motion of us learning this together. Because Brie knew who I was before she met me, you know what I'm saying? So like I had to learn all of these things of, how do I really sit my ass down and stay at the house? You have a family. How do you look like, this is what family is, Tim? So.
Facts. I think a couple. So the first thing that comes along is acceptance, like just accepting me for who I am. I didn't want to have to worry about if I sent a paragraph in a text message or if I sent 75 back-to-back little like I just wanted somebody just to accept me for who I was. And communication, I think, was big. Like, I don't know that I necessarily knew that I needed communication until I became in a relationship with Tim, because I wasn't a good communicator before. I kept stuff in. It wasn't until I learned how powerful communication is. And just because you're speaking your needs or saying that you're hurt or something, it's not a bad thing. And I think that was one of the things that I was not taught to do. Like, we weren't really taught to communicate growing up, right? You're a child, you don't speak until spoken to. When you're in school, you just sit and you listen. We were never taught to, like, when something hurts, tell somebody. Just, it doesn't mean you're trying to hurt them. You're just saying, like, hey, you have to teach people how to treat you. And to make a relationship, you have to be able to communicate, and you learn to communicate by communicating, right? Like we would reflect on our conversations. Like, we would have this, and then, like, a couple days later, or after maybe we woke up the next day, we would talk about it. We would talk about the conversation that was hard. And then I might say, well, when you said this is how it made me feel. Or Tim would say, when you did this, like, this is what it meant to me. And so we started understanding how to communicate with each other. I think the last one is a burden. I'd never wanted someone to make me feel like a burden, because there were times in my life that I had felt like a burden to somebody, and that was something I didn't want them to make me feel like I didn't. I just didn't want that. And so I think, like, you ask the question, what do you want in a relationship? But then also, like, within yourself, I think you ask something like, what do you notice about yourself? And I think the reason why I probably needed it, because I also needed to accept myself. I needed to be okay with the fact that it's okay to communicate my needs, and that I deserve to communicate my needs, and then recognize that I'm not a burden. I'm not a burden to people. Like, I can be a blessing to people,
Oh, I wish we could. I'm gonna drop that in the chat. You deserve to communicate your needs.
Yeah.
I like that. Let me go to a couple comments.
Yeah, because if you're the partner, you don't know what someone else is thinking if they don't tell you.
Right. Tim, you can read some comments. I got one up.
This is from JoJo. Seeking your own happiness defines you as a survivor, not a victim. That's real. I think a lot of times from trauma, when you don't go on that, if you're not willing to, and everybody's in a different space in their life as far as embarking on a journey to heal. But if you're not in that space to heal, that happiness ain't going to come. But if you are in that space to where you do want to heal, that happiness will be there, and you are a survivor. Don't victim blame yourself, for sure. I like that.
Sure.
So many people come to the relationship table wanting something from a partner that they themselves cannot give. That's crazy. My barber and I were just talking about this yesterday. Every time I go get my haircut, we have a little session as far as men speaking, because it's a good time to talk with Coop. You know what I'm saying? If you're looking for a barber, Ryan Cooper is in the market. Best barber in Des Moines.
Shout out.
But yeah, I like to tell them, when you're in those situations, you can't give something you don't have. So, like, go ahead and explore yourself, learn yourself, heal yourself, because you can't go into a relationship and being 80-20. A relationship is 50-50. Sometimes it's going to fluctuate, but majority of the time it should be on that 50-50 standing. So make sure you got your stuff in order.
And I think that makes me think about how when you go into a relationship and you have baggage, so maybe you got treated some type of way, and then you come into a new relationship and you start vomiting that baggage onto somebody else. Like, well, you ain't this or you ain't that, like you start doing these things to this other person. The person's probably like, what are you doing? And I think that was another thing. Like, I did not want to bring my insecurities into the relationship with Tim. He didn't do anything to me. He didn't create those insecurities. He doesn't deserve to be treated from the pain of those insecurities. And so I think so many times we go into relationships and blame or start unintentionally bleeding that pain onto somebody that didn't deserve it. And so even though I was healing alongside starting that relationship, I tried to be very intentional to not, I guess maybe the word is punish Tim because of my pain,
Mm-hmm. Like that. I got something for both of you, a comment for both of you. Thank you for being transparent with us, Tim and Bree.
Yeah, that's us.
You said, this is us.
Yep.
So a lot is just personal growth, and it's personal growth is going to be continuous. And especially, even if you're single and friendships, there's going to be personal growth, and in relationships and in marriage. So can it conflict with if another person's like growing at a different rate than the other in any relationship? But especially, go ahead. Yep.
I would say the resistance probably comes into play if someone is jealous of the other, which means there's some insecurity within your relationship. Yeah. So then that's a whole nother problem that you got to figure out, because why I'm hating, what I'm jealous about, what about this is making me insecure? You know what I'm saying? But you gotta in your relationship, I think those things, holes get cracked in a relationship when you stop talking and you stop communicating, and then you see someone start to flourish, and then you feel left out. I would say Bree does a good job of involving all of us in all of her stuff that she has going on. Shout out to the micro influencers out there. Follow justakeyatheart if you haven't done that, so whatever. But she puts us in her videos. She lets us know. We talk about it. So yeah, and it's like I said, it's beneficial for us because she's glowing and she's happy with it. You know what I mean? And that's her pastime. That's what she likes to do in her free time. So it's like, why not encourage that? Why not support that if it makes somebody happy? Now, if it was something destructive or negative to what we got going on, then that's a whole conversation. But if it's positive, go for it.
Yeah, I do think it, that is one blessing with Tim and I, is that we both believe in evolving and growing and continually bettering ourselves. I once heard this quote years ago, literally, that men marry the woman that they are that day, right? Like, I'm marrying you because of who you are on this day. Women marry a man for who they think they're going to become, right? And so then what happens as the marriage goes on in years, the woman might change, or the man never becomes the man you thought. And then all of a sudden the relationship falls apart because you're like, this isn't the person I married. And then the woman's like, well, you're not evolving into the man I thought you were going to be. And so I think too, what I also realized was not everybody is going to want to evolve like me, right? Like, not everybody wants to change. Not everybody wants to heal. Not everybody. And so that was actually really hard for me a couple of years ago. I remember in therapy talking about it. Like, I just didn't understand why people would not want to feel their absolute freaking best. Yeah. And sometimes it was my view of what should be their best. And so, I think I created some boundaries in different spaces of my life, and I just come to terms with, like, it's okay. Like, it's okay for people. That was another thing Tim really taught me and always talks about. He just accepts people for who they are on that day. and he doesn't make people be more than who they are. And so that's one thing I've really just accepted people for who they are. Let them be them, and it's okay to set boundaries, and surround yourself around people that do continually support you and fuel your desire to keep growing. And yeah, I think that was something that kind of came through it all.
Something you said, wanting other people, why wouldn't you want to be your best self or feel your best? And I think doing the work is very, very hard. It's painful. There's painful, there's low, like the lowest of the lowest pain. And people don't want to feel that pain to get to the other side. But once you get to the other side, it's worth it. And it helps you deal with adversity. You can like take it like, okay, I grew up like this is cake.
Yeah.
Also some people are attached to their pain.
Facts.
They're attached to agony.
They identify by it.
Boom. And so there's times like you, Bri, I'm like, because it's an ongoing thing. You never just like arrive. You might get here and you're like, oh, okay, I conquered that. And you find out there's some other shit. It keeps going. But when you're feeling good and you're going through the journey, you do want the people around you to do the same.
Yeah.
And so at the beginning of the journey, you're trying to encourage and this and that. I think I'm with you guys. I accept where people are. Yes, I'm going to encourage this and that, but if they're not ready and they say, I'm not ready, I say, okay. I mean,
that's all you can 100%.
Do. That's all you can do. What was the other thing I wanted to ask you guys? Interesting. So now, we've talked about exploring the concept of self-love, the importance of self-love and cultivating healthy relationships, personal growth, living a purposeful life. And what's a purposeful life to you, for you?
I think for me to be purposeful, I think what I've realized over the years, and Tim's kind of said it, was like to always feel at my best, because when I am eating healthy, when I'm exercising, my sons are also watching that, right? I think about Kingston will sometimes be downstairs with me working out. They watch me eat healthy. They watch me take care of myself. They watch me laugh and love on their dad and stepdad, right? Like they get to see love in our family. They get to see those dynamics. I also am very vulnerable and talk about when I'm not perfect, right? Like I try to always, especially with Landon that's 16, I always try to model saying I'm sorry and being imperfect, because that was something I tried so hard to be perfect when I was younger. Like it doesn't even exist. And so like, I know that's a little bit of some things I've passed on to Landon, because I was struggling through that as I was raising him. And so now I really tried to be like, it's not that. But I think besides being outside of myself and my family, right? Because they're always going to be number one. I think that is why I really started my Instagram page, because I just love helping women, especially, feel at their absolute best. And it doesn't have to be glamorous. I just really love so much of like a woman's struggle, at least from my own experience, has to do with her hormones, and so I'm super passionate always about telling women to get their hormones checked, to find out the things, sharing my journey. That is why I always try to be transparent and vulnerable, because that has helped. People have given me feedback like that helps them understand, that helps them grow. So I think my purpose, and actually kind of like the logo or vision of Just a Key at Heart is unlocking the dreams and passions within. And that's what I want people to find that within themselves, and release it. So they, I want that for Kingston. I want that for Landon. I want that for Tim. I just want them every day to wake up and just be like so freaking happy and so thankful for every little thing.
That's what's up. Tim, piggyback. What's for you?
For me, I think my purpose of life is to give guidance and support, and maybe even a little bit of helping people like self-actualize. I think a lot of times we get stuck and we don't know which direction to go. So if people need me, what I'm saying, I'll always answer the phone. I always respond to text. If I don't respond or call you back, or I call you back, what I'm saying, like I'm always consistent in what I view a friendship should be. So I think my purpose on earth is just to like be there to help.
I like that. And Bree, what I would say to you when you're talking about like your family's watching you and all these things, but as you're doing your social media and all that stuff, people are watching you and you are helping people. People actually do say stuff to me about your your content all the time.
Well, tell them to buy some. You know what I'm saying? We got Autobahn at the house. We got Beauty Counter at the house. You feel me? Tell them to tap in on them links. Amazon Marketplace. We're trying to get on TikTok. We're trying to get to 1,000 followers on TikTok so we can start selling on TikTok. You feel me? We out here, bro. Tell them to tap in.
Tap in, y'all. It's on. Go to her, because if you go to her IG, you can link to everything from there. So
yeah,
her IG is on the screen. But people will say stuff of the things that you do for like healing or like sensory stuff with Kingston. Yeah, that's mentioned a lot, and it's appreciated. So you are seen and you are doing what you're supposed.
You did some stuff too. You did some tapping and stuff. You want to talk about how that's been for you, tapping, when you came down here for that?
Yes. So Bree connected me with Denny, and Denny actually did my podcast, and we did a meditation on there. So I went to him for tapping because at that time, my anxiety was really bad, like so bad that I was uncomfortable. Like I felt like my adrenaline, I'm just sitting there, my adrenaline is going like I'm gonna die. Like that's just how I felt. But you just learn to kind of cope with it, which it was affecting my sleep. And Bridget knows as well. She has called in the middle of the night and just prayed over me that bad. So I was doing everything to try to feel better. And mind you, all the therapy, tapping, all of those things, I didn't feel better overnight. I would say it took me 1.5 years to get to a good place. But the tapping really was like the last thing that was added. And that kind of just really helped. It took it to another level because I can only do so much damn talking. So just the tapping and the releasing and the breathing and just the person who, luckily I was in good hands, and we were able to, break some barriers. And but yes, it's very relaxing. It's like the pinpoints of like if you were getting acupuncture, and it helped release. So yes, you guys can I'll put the link to that with me and Denny on the podcast early on. But yes, that was a good resource. And also sharing your resources. Bree shared that resources. Also oils. The oils helped a lot. Essential oils. Yeah. So you sharing that. So everybody share your resources of what's helping you. It may not be for everyone, but you never know. It might be for someone.
Mm-hmm. Facts.
Yeah. I like what Bridget said. For those that don't know, anxiety is not normal. So many things can cause it. Hormones, life changes, trauma, gene mutation. Yeah. Oh, I did not know the gene thing. Thank you for sharing. So yes. Oh guys, this has been a good show. Look at the family, the Johnson Stone.
And I would just
Welcome
add,
to our dinner table.
if you are, going through things and you do want to change, and you feel like there's no right place to start, you just gotta start somewhere. It's your habits. What are you doing every day? What do your habits look like? Are you journaling? Are you self-reflecting? It's self-reflection is a forever growth. There's no perfection to self-reflection, but you gotta start at some point. And a lot of times, by journaling, writing down, because there's a lot of finger pointing and non-accountability taking when you're the individual who is always in the situation where it's like, why me, why me, why me? It's probably because there's something that is happening inside of you that you're not aware of. So by taking that time to sit in that silence, asking for help, I think Bridget had mentioned that, you can ask for help. There are people, and the thing that's the most crazy about it is a lot of people do want to help, but they can't help you if you don't say what it is. And as a friend, it's hard because you see your friend struggling, or you see your spouse struggling, or your significant other partner, whomever it is, you see them struggling, but you've opened the door to start that conversation for the change for that person. But if that person isn't in this space to where they're ready to accept where that is, it's hard for us on the supporting end to go with that. So like, if you are in those situations, don't be afraid to ask for help. If you do want to change, how are you looking at your habits? How are you utilizing that journal? How are you utilizing your time when you're by yourself versus trying to hop out and go be a part of the party and be in the mix and all those things? Because all you are is masking what's going on inside of you. I would have bet 9 out of 10 times you feel it too, as the person going through it. You feel that something is different, or you do feel the sense that, damn, I do need to change something about what's going on in my life. You just got to start.
Yeah. I like what you also said is like the people on the supporting end. If you don't ask, then we can't help. I will say I'm one of those people. If there is a problem, okay, I'll be like, how are we going? I'll listen to you, but now how are we going? Like, what are we going to do? I will give some suggestions. Sometimes I need to just be a listener, but sometimes I'm like, it's hard. That's hard. I just want to fix it. I like give you some suggestions to like, what can we do? Do you want my help? Like, are we? So friends out there, sometimes if you just don't want my help and you're just venting, I guess you just got to say that. If you don't, I'm probably going to like give a suggestion of like, where can we start? How can I help? Maybe
I do. I think this may be an unpopular opinion, but I do think one thing that actually did really help me too, though, is finding a neutral party to support me, right? Because I think, Tim, you were somebody that said most of the time when people give advice, it's usually from their own lived experience, right?
That's what it is. That's what advice is.
A lot of people don't have my lived experience and don't have my goals for myself as their end goals. So the advice they may be giving me, and actually as I began to heal, I actually started not wanting certain advice from people because I was like, we don't have the same goals in life. So like, so for me, and sometimes like some people don't have money for maybe talk therapy, but guess what? There I could find, professionals on YouTube and listen to a podcast, talking about habits. There was a podcast I'd listen to all the time. I wanted to have better habits. You can teach yourself how to do tapping, like you can teach yourself a lot. Journaling, there's so much free stuff out there in the world to heal. Thankfully I had the means to go to people, you know, but
Mhm.
that was one thing I know that really did help me was somebody that was a neutral party, you know, like had no benefit of me really healing or not. That kind of sounds
Mhm.
bad, but like
Yeah.
I guess I stopped getting other people's advice and I started getting to the action, kind of what you were hoping to help. But yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Hold on, we gotta.
And you
Um,
got to also remember, perfection gets in the way of action.
oh,
Hmm.
for sure.
So nothing will be perfect because
Hmm.
we're imperfect beings.
Hmm.
So don't let that image of perfection get in your way of creating action because it'll never get started. Nothing will ever get started.
Wax.
No, you know what I used to do when I was going through my stuff. I would like, I'm gonna do this day. I'm gonna do that, and if I failed, at first I'd be like, fine. Or if I got sad that day or I cried that day, I said, okay, I'm gonna start all over tomorrow. I'm gonna start
Hmm.
all over tomorrow. And then one day I said, I'm not gonna start over tomorrow. I'm gonna start over in 20 minutes. Like I'm gonna try. I'm gonna
There you
try
go.
this out. And
Yeah.
as more, yeah. First I had to do it day by day, but then I was like, you know what? No, I'm not throwing this whole day away. But
Yep.
Hmm.
no day is perfect. So I like the thing about perfection. Um, um, Shiva 1121. I appreciate your suggestions and help. That is my friend. You're welcome,
Oh.
friend. I love you.
Hmm.
And then Bridget said, yes, just do it. Bridget is a doer. Now, if y'all go to her, she's a doer. We gonna do this.
Yeah.
Like, it, yes. We'll talk it out. She will let me cry, do it. And then she said, okay, you call me. So what we gonna do? You know how I roll.
That's
And that's why you
how my
called me.
that's how my mom is too. Hmm.
But she be, I need it. I need it. I need that. I need someone to say, what we gonna do?
Hmm.
It's just okay. You're right. What we about to do? No. So, Rian, any last words for us
I think
on
actually the thing I've been thinking about a lot is just the power of self-talk. I think that was one of the biggest things, um, you know, especially as I started noticing and listening to other people, like, and how I've learned about manifestation and affirmations. I was actually just listening to YouTube yesterday when I was working out, and it talks about what you envision in your mind is what you become. So if I continually say, nobody wants me, I'm going to be single for life, that's going to be my reality.
Mhm.
I'm lazy and I procrastinate, that's my reality. If I, you know, so like the way you talk about yourself literally changed. You know, when I started telling myself, I'm proud of myself, you're going to make it, you are successful, you deserve this. I just don't think people truly understand the power of self-talk and how important it is to speak positively to yourself. Yeah.
You know what I just thought of, Brie? I thought of when Snoop Dogg, this is weird, when he got his star, he goes, I want
Yes.
to thank me.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
He
That.
goes, I want to
Exactly
thank
that.
me.
Hmm.
So yeah, start thanking yourselves. Oh, Brie, thank you for this is what the second time you've come on?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, you came on, I think, after 10 when I first started. So I appreciate you coming on. You always um, speak so well and communicate so well. That's what I like most about your social media. Like, I can't even be that interesting, like talking to friends. You know, you always say, I'm talking to my friends. Kings.
Mhm. Yeah. I'm gonna tell you again, friend. Yeah.
Tim, any parting words?
uh, Research, look up the science about self-talk. I think what Bree was mentioning is very important. Our brains don't know any better when we're saying stuff about ourselves. They don't know. So subconsciously, your body starts to feel the impact of the negativeness of what you're saying, and then you start to believe it. So really look into that, what that is. Affirmations are huge. Self-talk is huge. Positive self-talk is huge.
Mhm.
Mhm. And I will say have your morning routines and to help with that love and confidence. Like my morning routine, it changes, of course, but I do journal, I read certain books, I do bust out my Bible, and I pray and I show gratitude, even if it's nothing's going good. So I think having that in place helps. I like what Bridget just said. Girl, you be saying some good stuff. Power of life and death are in your tongue.
Straight up.
Mhm.
Straight up.
I love it. I love it. That is a great note to end on. So, if you guys enjoyed the conversation, please, if you're new here, subscribe, hit that notification button. You guys share this episode. You don't want to miss another episode of Divine Honey Podcast. You can also listen to the show on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. The links are in the About section. I will also put those in the comment section. And when you go to Apple and when you go to Spotify, please rate, which want to get listening up in that area. Please plug into Brianne's social media and her businesses. What all things can they find on your social media and product and business wise?
So I talk a lot about clean, non-toxic beauty, skincare, gut health with greens and protein. And then I just share lots of things with motherhood or things that I do a lot with Kingston, whether it be my own personal clothing, our clothing of our family, or ideas to keep your toddler busy. That's what we try to do, fun things with King so he can learn, grow, and things like that.
Thank you. And if you guys know anyone who wants to be on the show, you want to be on the show, or you have any suggestions about things you would like us to talk about, you can email me at booshegurl@gmail.com. That's BOOSHEGURL@gmail.com. Also, again, you can hit me up on Instagram. I'm on Facebook and TikTok as well under Bougie Girl. Yes, thank you for tuning in. And until next time, you guys, peace and blessings.
Bye, y'all.